Hi, so I usually go on LinkedIn and sometimes follow quite a lot of assistants. And when I'm following these assistants, it's usually with the goal of learning a bit more about how different we are as assistants and what they contribute. I also follow quite a lot of assistants who are not based in Europe because I would just like to know if there's anything that's different between how life is as an assistant here as opposed to other places. One of the people that I met is Jane. And Jane, one of the other interesting things about her was that she is Kenyan, like me. And she works and lives in the UAE and has also worked and lived in Kenya as an assistant. And I got curious about what exactly the difference in life would be. One of the motivations for actually contacting her was because I was in the process at that time of helping my friend to find an assistant. And my friend had very specific things that he wanted for an assistant. And when I was calling a few people to check about their availability and just their qualifications, it struck me that both my friend and I were looking at this not from an inside point of view, Kenyan point of view, but from somebody who is not living in Kenya. And there were some things which came naturally to Kenyans, which did not come naturally to me. Well, when I say Kenyans here, I mean people working in Kenya, and did not come naturally to me to think about. And then there were some requirements that were going to be needed in Kenya that to me do not make sense right here. And there are requirements that are needed here which would not make sense in Kenya. And understanding the environment became one of those things that I'm learning that, some of these challenges we have might just be environmental and some of them might not be. So I really enjoyed my conversations with her. It went in the direction that I wanted it to go. But then I also had some very interesting surprises about just other things that we have in common. So I hope you will enjoy watching this video as much as I enjoyed actually making it. Hi, Jane. How are you? Hi, Jane.
Hi, Mercy. I'm very, very well. Thank you so much for having me here. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for taking this call. So, Jane is an assistant who is based in the UAE. And as I try to get assistance from as many different places as possible, it was really nice to connect with her. So I connected with her on LinkedIn because she had just received a promotion. Congratulations. And I figured that this would be a good
Thank
chance for
you.
me to talk to somebody who is also a fellow Kenyan who's living and working as an assistant outside Kenya. And the added value is the fact that she also actually worked in Kenya, which is not my case because I came here when I was a bit too young. So I never really had any work experience in Kenya. So today we will talk about the just her journey. We will start with her journey. We will talk about the differences in culture and how Jane sees this life and whether she likes it, whether she would advise her younger sisters to be in it. Let's hear how it goes. So, start by telling us who is Jane and how did Jane get to where she is right now?
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Mercy. So my name is Jane Akinyi. I am a Kenyan, born and raised in Kenya. I'm living here in the UAE. I've been living here for 4 years now. Just as you have said, my career journey started back in Kenya. Um, First of all, I didn't study anything to do with admin or executive assistant. I studied fashion. So I did my background is in fashion and design back in Kenya. And then after that, I got a job, and the job was totally away from fashion. It was an advertising company, marketing and advertising company, where now I was in the customer service, and then I was promoted to a personal assistant to the CEO of that company. And there is where my journey started. So I worked as an assistant to the CEO in Kenya for about, I got an opportunity. My sister was living here in UAE. And so she just connected me to come here to UAE because UAE, it was really advancing at that time. So that's how I got an opportunity to move from Kenya to the UAE in Dubai. And in Dubai, I've worked in hospitality where I started in reservations. And then from reservations, I moved up into events. So I was doing company and luxury events. And from luxury events, again, in Dubai, being a very fast moving country, I moved from events into back to my career as an assistant. And I worked as an executive assistant to the founder together with two directors. It was a luxury men's fashion wear. And then I worked there for about a year. Yeah, a year. And then after that, in UAE, opportunities do follow you. Really. We will talk about that later.
Yeah.
So from there, now I moved into now the role that I'm in right now. I'm in the beauty industry. So in the beauty right now, I'm an office manager and also an executive assistant to two senior suits, two senior chief executive suits. So yeah, there's where I am right now, and I'm happy to really share and talk about my journey with you.
Thank you so much. So as a fellow Kenyan, when somebody says in Kenya that they're going to Dubai, and okay, so I went to hotel school when I came here, and some of my classmates, when they graduated, they went and worked in Dubai for their management
Mhm.
practice. And so I know that there is a professional side of Dubai, but when you
Yeah.
tell an average Kenyan that you're moving to Dubai, the first thing they're thinking is you're going to go work as a domestic worker. Do you ever get this stereotype thrown at you?
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, yes. That mentality is still there. There's a mentality where other Kenyans think that there is no other careers for us Kenyans here in the UAE, which is definitely not true. Even for the careers that I've been and the networking that I've been, I've met other, not only Kenyans, other Africans here in the UAE with they're in very high title positions. So I
Mm.
feel like just more about the mentality that someone has. If you have a mentality that this is just what I can do, then there is where you will end up doing, You have to have a mentality of achieving more. And that is something that we really need to improve as Africans or Kenyans abroad.
Okay, so back to our conversation about your career path. So when you first moved to Dubai, because you had already worked as an assistant in Kenya,
Yeah.
which is something that I cannot relate to, but you had already
Mhm.
worked as an assistant in Kenya. And when you
Yeah.
moved to Dubai, were there quite a lot of things that you had to adjust in your ways of working, in your ways of relating to your boss? Was there a huge difference?
Oh, yes, definitely yes. I mean, working back in Kenya, first of all, the work-life balance in Kenya was really there. It was you could work, you could have time to do your personal things and have time for work. It was strictly Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday we're at home. So moving here in the UAE, that was my first shock. People are always working here. Things are always in demand. Deadlines are always to be followed. That the work-life balance became a little bit challenging for me because I moved into hospitality, and now we were no longer like Monday to Friday. It being flexible with the shifts. So that was one of the things that I had to adapt to. You have to be really flexible with your time. You have to answer your call, when something is needed. Compared to Kenya, it was strictly like at times I used to leave my phone at work because I don't want to be disturbed when I'm on my weekends. But with here, it's so different. Like things are always in demand. And
Mm.
also just the culture here, it's very fast paced. There's some systems that we use here that were not at home. And this is because here there's a lot of networking, and when you're networking, you're meeting other people who are using other different ways of doing it. In Kenya, it's a bit different because unless you're working in a big company, you will have to use some advanced system. But if you're working in a very small company in Kenya, it's going to be a little bit challenging. So these are some of the things that I really saw and I had to adapt to when I came here in UAE.
You have talked quite a bit about networking. You've mentioned it almost
Yeah.
every response you've had. So that I can gather that networking has been a huge part of your success in the UAE.
Yes.
So one of the things that I do, I try to convince people that they need to network. And most of the time, people tell me it's very hard. And their excuse is always, it's very hard because of, you're a foreigner and just getting in contact with people. So they tend to sit in their groups, and then you have Kenyans are together, Nigerians are together, Ghanaians are together, and people don't want to mix, which means you're not adding any extra skills or any extra values. So the type of networking
Yeah.
that you do seems to be quite open. So can we talk a little bit about the networking?
Yeah.
What have you seen as the power of networking for you?
Oh, oh, wow. Yeah. Networking, I mean, I will advise anyone, not even just being an executive assistant, but in every career, you have to network. You have to network. This opens doors that we cannot open ourselves, honestly. We have the good thing here in Dubai, at times we have some events that we're being invited to, or other events where you have to pay to go to. It's really good to invest in such events. Just go there, pay the money, and just be there because there are some people in different careers that usually attend these events.
Mm.
And when you go to such events, um, I mean, I myself, I used to be an introvert. That's how I used to consider myself. But having come into this career, I think it just changed automatically because there's no way to keep quiet. I have to go and just say, introduce myself and tell everyone what I do, because people will always recommend you somewhere. People will always give you an advice that you will never hear it of it anywhere else. I network with other fellow assistants who are going through some challenges that I am also going through, and they have solutions that I really needed.
Mhm.
I've networked with other people who also are going some other problems that I have a solution to. And also with jobs, for me moving from dance into an executive assistant in fashion, it was through networking. I just served this guest of mine. He had an event and he just liked how talkative I was, just talking about my country and all that. And he just loved it and he wanted me to come and work for him. So networking, it's all about, it opens doors to big careers and also just solve some problems that you have been tackling in for long. So networking is the key here.
I
Yeah.
love the fact that for you, it even gave a direct result. Because another problem that I
Yeah.
keep hearing from a lot of people is I went for an event and nothing happened. And I keep telling them it's not one event. Sometimes it can be one event, but it's not one event. You need to go. People need to see the authentic you. When you're going there with I
Mm,
need a job today,
exactly.
and everybody you say hi to, it's hi, I'm looking for a job. They avoid you the rest of the
Oh,
event. So you need to go there and
yeah.
meet people. It's so weird how people do not value
Mm.
this. Anyway, so when
It is.
so there are different countries often have different workplace cultures. I remember 2 years ago I was working from
Hmm.
home in Kenya. And
Hmm.
I was in Kenya and I was remote working. And when I was talking to my boss, my mother was very surprised that I called my boss by her first name. And then after that, there was a phone call, and I was talking to my boss's boss, and I was still calling him by his first name. And my mother was like, "Oh, my daughter is so disrespectful." And I was like, "I think if I called them Mr. or Mrs., they would be shocked. They would wonder what what I'm doing because here, people call their bosses by the first name, but in Kenya, that is unheard of. You do not, as an assistant, go and call your boss Jack. They will fire you, Mezoyana. That's what you will be told. So I was wondering, what are some of the culture shocks that you saw in the workplace in Dubai?
Yeah, that the one that you said is also one of them for me as well. One of my biggest culture shock was being invited in meetings. I remember back in Kenya, it was more of just admin work. I never used to attend any of the senior executive weekly or bi-weekly meetings. It was strictly for the executives.
Mhm.
Coming here in Dubai, working with this founder to meetings, my executive will be like, okay, hi Jane, you're gonna join me in this meeting. Yeah, you're gonna join me in this meeting, and you're just gonna sit there and just take some notes on some actions that I need. For me, that was really a shock because I even didn't know how to behave in such meetings where some really confidential things about the business were being discussed. So, I even didn't know how to act, how to sit, what to write, and all that. That was one of the culture shock that I really experienced, such things, like taking meetings, meeting some very senior people, them even knowing your name and talking to you. Those was of the culture shock that I experienced here, and also how there's no hierarchy in some companies, not all, but in
Mhm.
the companies that I've worked with, there's really that hierarchy where you have to go from this office. From this office, you have to go to this another boss office. We are all just like one team colleague. The founder is talking to the cleaner like the same way he will talk to the fellow other other executive. In Kenya, that was quite very different. In order for you to reach the CEO, you have to like climb so many stairs to even see him. So those were such some of the culture shock that I experienced when I came here to the UAE.
Just to be clear for the listeners and the people who are viewing, we are not saying that one culture is worse than the other. We're just saying that they're different. Different communities have different ways of showing respect. So, in some places, how you address somebody already shows respect. In some other places, they don't really put that much value into titles. They kind of more are worried about how your behavior is. So it doesn't mean that in the UAE or in
Yeah,
Switzerland, they have a better culture. No, it just means that their way of showing respect is different from the Kenyan way of showing respect. So before people come to the comment section to say that we are saying Kenya is good, that is not what we're saying. We're saying it's different and it's a culture shock. I was
it's
very
very
shocked
different.
when
Yeah.
I learned that when my daughter was starting school very many years ago, that I had taught her how to call her teacher Mr. somebody. And then she goes to the school and she comes back and tells me, "Oh, there was no Mr. Anybody. It was just, and then she says his first name. And I'm like, "You cannot call your teacher by the first name. First of all, I'm a millennial." We were raised in a
Yeah.
very rigid education system. So imagining that my daughter is so disrespectful that she's calling her teacher by the first name was a shock to me. But that is just how they do it. Okay.
Yeah, it is messy. And something else is when you talk to them and you call them Mr. like Mr. Jack or Mrs. Jane, they will actually correct you and be like, no, don't call me Mr. Jack, just call me Jack.
Mhm.
So they are the ones who are actually, so yeah.
Exactly. I think it's a way of making people feel included because uh, you can even dare to open your mouth and say things. It's obvious that of course you also have to know to use your discretion on when you can do this because for example, if I'm sending an email to an outside company about my boss, I'm not going to use his
Mhm.
first name. I'm definitely going to say Mr. This is intending. But you know, these are
Yes,
things that you have to learn when and how to use them, because which is an extra
exactly.
milestone, which is another way that you're growing and you're learning the differences. And these are the small nuances that people need to realize that it's a privilege and you have to learn how to use it well because there's also a risk of being very comfortable with your boss, especially when you come from a culture where that is not the norm, where you would be way too comfortable
Yeah,
that now you don't even accord them their respect level.
yeah, yeah. True, true, true. Yeah, very true.
So we've talked about the differences. Now let's talk about what is the same. So what exactly did you feel like this was copy paste from your job in Kenya? What was the easiest, most natural transition for you?
Yeah, yeah. So there's some I call them foundations of being an assistant. These are some of the things that you ought to know to be an assistant. And the easier way or the easier thing about this is you can actually learn them either by someone else or by yourself. This include email management, calendar management, travel management. These are some of the things that you have to know. I do this in Kenya all the time for my executives. And when I moved to Dubai, I still applied them here, you know. Even in the interviews when you go, they will tell you, have you managed calendars? Have you managed travel? Have you done email management? So these are some of the essential things that you have to know in order to do that. It only becomes different because when you move in with time, now you have not only to be managing calendars, but you have to be anticipating and seeing where the clashes are going to be in order for you to manage the calendar very well. You're not just going to be booking flights. You're going to be seeing what are they going to do in that trip. Is this meeting going to happen? So it's more of just having the foundation. And then when you come in, you start anticipating needs, you start knowing priorities. It becomes like more advanced into that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've just had a nightmare week of calendar management, so totally feel you in that. So for
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, you know it's one of those weeks because my boss had been doing the entire executive team had something they were doing for the last 3 weeks. So everything that they were
Uh-huh.
supposed to do, other than whatever it is they were focusing on, which was the board meeting, fell on this week. So just it
Uh-huh.
was one of those you're thinking, does he
Oh
really
no.
need to eat? Can do without him eating, it's
Oh
fine.
my
Put a
goodness.
meeting, you just survive it. So it's one of those things, and it does come
Oh,
with experience because when you are 1 year
yeah.
into doing calendar management, first of all, you don't even know how to know when something is really an emergency because the number of people I had to tell, what exactly do
Yeah.
you want the meeting about? Yeah, I know it's an emergency to you. It's not a real emergency. Let's bring it to next week. There
Yeah.
were quite a number
Exactly.
of those, but then it's not something you can do from day one. So I always tell younger
Yeah.
assistants who are beating themselves up, I'm like, no, that comes with experience. And it comes with knowing that boss. It
Exactly.
comes with knowing what the priorities are for that week because you have the global view. Other people don't. Them, they know
Yeah.
that what they're doing is the most important. But you know there are five other things which make more sense to focus on than that one thing. So it's something that cannot be taught. It just comes with experience. So for years,
And actually, just to add in on that, you will
yes.
have to, yeah, just to add in on that, you will also like when you're doing a calendar management, you will be so advanced in that now you'll only not be supporting one person, the executive's calendar. That's how good practice is with calendar management.
Yeah. So anyway, so my almost final question is for EAs who dream of working internationally, you ended up in the UAE because your sister invited you. And she had seen the opportunities, and so she told you this is a good place for you to advance your career. Let's go. What practical advice would you tell somebody who is what do you wish you would have already done when you were there? When I have to advise somebody who's considering Switzerland, I keep telling them the first thing, I wish I would have learned French before I came. Because learning it while working was not the easiest thing for me. And then there are a few things that I wish I would have learned. Well, I wish I would have got a driving license, but okay, that's already another problem.
Yeah.
But so there are so many things that I wish I could have done. But that was when I was coming, I was coming as a student. I was not intending to come and work here. That just happened because, well, after
Okay.
graduating, I decided to stay. So if somebody told you, I want to be an EA and I want to move to the UAE, what are the two, three things that you can tell them to be prepared for?
Yes. From what I can really share, is get enough experience. Get enough experience in Kenya. If you're in Kenya, get enough experience in Kenya. Being an EA here in the UAE, most of these hiring managers, they look at experience, even more than your degree, even more than your diploma.
Yeah.
So the fact that I had 4 years experience working as a PA in Kenya really, really opened a lot of doors, even made my CV to be on top in this for a long time. So she knows what is required for this role. So planning to come to Dubai, to Abu Dhabi, to Sharjah, just get enough experience. I can say maybe try to get first a job of being a EA or a PA in Kenya. Get that experience, know how the environment is. And then with that experience, it will really open doors for you that much. Because even at times when you get the experience in Kenya, realize this is not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you come to Dubai, it's really fast paced. It's really demanding, you know. The everything is always a priority to be done sometimes later. So you really have to have so much experience in that. So just get a little bit of experience. That's my take. It may not happen to other people because, as I said, some people really come in and they links very fast. But really, for me, that is an advice I can give to someone, a fellow African coming to Dubai, especially a fellow African coming to Dubai experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following quite a few people online, and many of them are British people who are moving to Dubai, British kind of rich people, because they're not rich, they're just rich somewhere there. They don't want to, they're
Yeah.
tired of dealing with the UK taxes, so they're moving to Dubai. And so I feel like the PA market there would be quite uh, big because then they still need people to do things for them. So it is worth exploring once everything settles down. It is worth exploring that as a career for somebody. And it's not something that somebody should now start saying, in 5 minutes, I need to be there next year. No, start now. You've been told
Yeah.
that you need to start building up the CV. So start building it up, whether it's through finding volunteering opportunities, whether it's through working for associations or charities, but just to get a feel of being an executive assistant. There was someone who once told me that she thought being an executive assistant was easy, so she went into it. And then 1 month later, this is someone who is intentionally child-free. She does not want children and has never wanted. And she was like, it was like being somebody's mother, and this somebody is an adult. I am not doing this. She thought it was the easiest job in the world. 1 month later, she was like, no, it is not. You find yourself thinking about this person. What did he get everything done? Does he need this? Does he need this? She's like, I didn't want to be a mother because I don't want to do that. There's no way I'm doing this for a living. I was like, well, at least you get paid. Being a mother, you don't even get paid.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but all this,
It's not easy, but it's rewarding.
yes,
Yeah,
it is.
it's not easy, but it's really rewarding.
I think it's like nursing and teaching. It's not for everybody. Everybody thinks that it's an easy thing,
Yeah,
but it's really not for everybody. Anybody can do it, but not everybody can do it well.
yeah,
And for somebody to do it well without stress, without
exactly.
burning out, they would need to actually have it in their heart that this is something I like doing. I like
Yeah,
helping people to reach their goals because you're always in the background. You're not the one who is being praised when they get the $10 million contract, but you know you're the one who put in all the
exactly.
hard work for them to get that $10 million contract. And you need
Yes.
to be okay with this, you know? So I think it's not for
Yeah,
everybody, but when you can do it, it's really fulfilling.
it is. It is. It is. There's so
So, yeah,
much you can get from being an executive assistant. So many other positions. You can move it into chief of staff. You can move into a HR. You can move into operations. So it's really, really very rewarding.
and you know the fact that you have because when you're an EA, you also have a lot of visibility of what's going on in the company and where it's good and where it's, so you actually do get the opportunity to see where you're going before you go there. So if you might be passionate about HR, but you know full well that that HR department has so many issues, you don't want to work with them. But this is a
Exactly.
privilege instead of you having to walk in and then realize it at that time once you're already in. So it would be
Yeah.
it's a privilege that you have. And I call it our superpower, but well. All right. So do you have anything that you would like to say as we
We are.
conclude? If you had a
Well, first
superpower, what would your
of all, thank
superpower be?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I had a superpower. Maybe I'll be the most patient. I'll be a patient superpower because I'm really patient. I deal with very difficult people. I deal with very easy people, and I'm always just dialing and just listening to them. So I think my superpower, I'll be a super patient woman.
Definitely not me. Anyway, so if you would like to, okay, so for conclusion, any last words that you would like to say?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much, Mercy, for having me here. Whatever you're doing, the trainings and the interviews, they're really inspiring to people. This is what I needed when I started as a PA. I needed someone to really direct me on how things are done and whatever you're doing, I hope it reaches the right people. And I'll just encourage anyone who wants to be an EA or a PA to really just go for it. It's such as we have said, it's such a rewarding career. It's you need to have patience and comfortability to start small. Start
Mhm.
small and always be willing to learn. Always be willing to learn. That's what I tell everybody. Be willing to learn and always network. It really, really helps.
Thank you so much. And very, very big thank you for bringing up the networking because honestly, I am tired of telling assistants that they need to network because they need to, they just don't do it.